Chapter 3, A Caucus Race. The animals gathered on the bank of the pool of tears, but they were cranky. They were soaking wet and very uncomfortable. They had a long talk about how to get dry. Alice found herself talking with them like she'd known them all her life. It seemed quite natural. At last, the mouse spoke up. "Sit down, all of you. Listen, I know how to make you dry." They sat in a circle with the mouse in the middle. "Are you ready?" he called. "This is the driest thing I know." Then he began to talk about politics. He went on and on, like he was reading out loud from the most boring book. "Ugh," said the Lorry with a shiver. The mouse talked on and on. It was awfully dull. After a while, he paused. He turned to Alice. "How are you, my dear?" he asked. "As wet as ever," Alice said. She sighed. "It doesn't seem to dry me at all." "In that case," the dodo spoke up, "the best thing to get us dry would be a caucus race." "What is the caucus race?" Alice asked. "The best way to explain it is to do it," the dodo said. The dodo marked off a race course. It was sort of a circle. He said the exact shape didn't matter. Then Alice and the animals were told to start running wherever they wanted on the circle. They could start whenever they wanted. They could also stop whenever they wanted. Because of this, it was hard to know when the race was over. After they had been running for a half hour or so, they were dry again. The dodo called out, "The race is finished!" The creatures crowded around. They were out of breath. "But who has won?" they asked. "Everybody has won," the dodo said after much thought, "and all must have prizes." "But who will give the prizes?" the creatures asked. "She will, of course," said the dodo, as if it were obvious. He pointed at Alice. The animals ran to her. They jumped up and down. "Prizes! Prizes!" they yelled. Alice had no idea what to do. Finally, she pulled out a box of candies from her pocket. She was lucky that the salt water had not ruined them. She handed out the candies as prizes. There was exactly one piece for everyone, except for herself. "She must have a prize too," said the mouse. "Of course," the dodo replied. "What else do you have in your pocket?" he asked Alice. "Only a thimble," Alice said sadly. "Hand it over," said the dodo. Then they all crowded around her again. The dodo presented the thimble to Alice as her prize. He gave a short speech and everyone cheered. Alice thought the whole thing very absurd, but they looked so serious she didn't dare laugh. Finally, the animals sat in a circle again. "You promised to tell me your story," Alice reminded the mouse. She added in a whisper, "and why it is you hate C and D?" "Mine is a long and sad tale," said the mouse. "It is a long tale," Alice said. She gazed in wonder at the mouse's tail. "But why do you call it sad?" she asked, puzzled. The mouse had started his story, but Alice was still thinking of his tail. "You're not paying attention," the mouse snapped. "What are you thinking about?" "I beg your pardon," Alice said politely. "You had reached the middle, I think?" "I had not," the mouse cried angrily. "A knot," Alice said. She always wanted to make herself useful. "Let me help you untie it." The mouse got up and walked away. "You insult me by talking such nonsense," he sniffed. "I didn't mean it," Alice pleaded. "Please come back and finish your story." But the mouse hurried away. "What a pity," the Lorry said and sighed. "I wish I had our Dinah here," Alice said. "She'd soon fetch him back." "And who is Dinah?" asked the Lorry. "Dinah's our cat," Alice said, without thinking. "She's so good at catching mice, and you should see her go after birds. She'll eat a bird as soon as look at it." This caused a rush of excitement among the creatures, and they ran off, each in different directions. Alice was soon all alone. "I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah," she said sadly. "Nobody down here seems to like her." Alice began to cry again. She was feeling very sorry for herself. Then she heard footsteps in the distance. She looked up. She hoped it might be the mouse, ready to forgive her and finish his story. End of chapter 3.